Hello everyone, welcome to our discussion on the topic phylum Arthropoda. Phylum Arthropoda is one of the most diverse phylums in the kingdom Nonchordata. As you can see in the animation which is represented, this is one of the phylum which has conquered almost all the possible habitats which was available for them. And because of their main speciality, mainly because of their size and the diversification that they showed, like their ability to fly, then the ability or the presence of the thick cuticle, which is not present or which is rarely seen in animals which you see before the phylum or which comes before this particular phylum. So all these features has enabled them to thrive almost every possible habitats which was available for them. And because of that particular feature, this particular phylum is it is having one of the most diverse animal groups that you see. And another feature of this phylum is that this is one of the phylum, like the amphibians when you come to chordates, the ones which has conquered the terrestrial habitat. Terrestrial in the sense, if you see phylum Annelida, example earthworms, then leeches, etc. They also they also live, they also have conquered the terrestrial environment. But what you can say is that the ones which has conquered or conquering the terrestrial environment in the sense that they have become so diverse, and you can see them in most of the terrestrial habitats. Like if you take the case of the insects, this particular group of insects, so every insect coming from ants, butterflies, bees, etc., you can see them in any harsh environment or any possible environment. So with this introduction, we are beginning the phylum Arthropoda. So the discussion on phylum Arthropoda will be classified as, in this particular session, or it is mainly classified as, we'll first discuss the salient features of this particular phyla. What are the important features or important characteristics that you see in this particular group, which will be followed by the type study of this particular group, which is Annelida. So type study, you are having prawn as the type study. So in the type study, what we are going to see is that we are going to see the different systems. We will be analyzing that particular organism as a whole, its morphology, its skeleton or its internal anatomy, like the different systems, etc. So that's what we call it as a type study, and prawn is a type study that you have in phylum Arthropoda. So the salient features will be followed by the type study, which will be again followed by what is called as the classification. So after studying the salient features, we are directly moving on to the type study, because in salient features, we'll be just describing, or we'll be just moving on with the features which is common to Arthropoda. And when you after studying or after having a glimpse of salient features, moving directly on to the type study, you get a complete picture of a particular organism that is belonging to this particular group. After that, we'll study the classification. as I said, because this group is more diverse, it is having a somewhat more complex classification than we discussed in the previous phylum. So moving on to the salient features of this group. So the name Arthropoda is from the terms arthro, which means joint, and poda, which means foot. So if you see any arthropod, if you observe their appendages, you can call, or when you study biology, some terms are rather really important. In common terms, you can call or you say it as the leg, but scientifically you cannot call these particular structures as legs, because when you call something as a leg or a limb, that should have some features. A limb is something what you see from, or what you see in chordates, which you see from amphibians. A limb, or something what you call it as a leg or a hand, it is different from appendages structurally or morphologically as well as anatomically. A leg or a limb is a structure as similar to our hands and legs, which is having an outer skin, you have the muscles which controls its movement, and also a very hard endoskeleton which is made up of bones. The same thing you see from amphibians, or you can see it from frogs, etc. And such structures can be called as legs. But specifically the structures which is seen in lower forms, for example, mainly in arthropods. Commonly, when you speak commonly, you can you say it as a leg, but scientifically it is an appendage, because it does not have any features to be called as a leg or a limb, and hence it is called as appendages. And when you come to appendages, the main feature of an arthropod and appendage gives its name, which is jointed appendages, as it is clearly visible from the picture of the ant which is shown here. You can see that this is an appendage. Okay, appendages usually used for different purposes. Okay, so this is also the antennae is also an appendage. In arthropods, the antennae is also an appendage, and this, as you can see that, so the appendage is used for different purposes. As an antennae, it is used for sensing the surroundings, for chemo sensation, etc. The other appendages which you see in the region which is called as the thoracic region, that is mainly used for in the case of an ant, it is mainly used for walking. So here what you can see is that these particular appendages, it is not a single piece, it is many pieces which is joined together, and that is why it is the name was given as arthro, which means joint, and poda, which means foot. And foot actually it means appendages. So jointed, the animals which are having or the organisms which are having jointed appendages are usually referred to as arthropods. So if you take every arthropod, for example, if you take the spider, if you take the butterfly, if you take prawn, if you take crab, whatever it is, whatever the arthropod might be, with some exceptions, there are some exceptions in this category. When you come to the adult, it becomes a parasite, and hence such structures will not be visible in them. We'll see the example when you take the classification. So there are some exceptions because of their particular lifestyle, but if you take the arthropods in common, they are having jointed appendages. And another feature of this arthropods is that if you take their body plan, their body can be generally divided. As I said before, this is a general feature. General feature in the sense, when you say it as a general feature, that will be present in something about 80 to 90% of the animals belonging to this phylum, but there might be exceptions depending upon their, as I said, depending upon their, because they are very diverse, they have conquered many environments, uh, depending upon their adaptation to that particular habitat, there might be changes. So in that sense, arthropods they have a general body plan. General body plan in the sense, they are having a head, which is followed by a thoracic region, which is followed by an abdomen. So this particular division is clearly visible in insects. Externally, you can see it clearly. A head you can see, a thoracic region, and an abdomen. And if you closely observe the internal anatomy of most of the arthropods, even prawn, its body is also divisible into three regions, mainly the head region, followed by the thoracic region and the abdomen region. And so this is the body plan or general body plan of insects. And next is coming to the salient features. Their body is bilaterally symmetrical and they are coelomate animals. So coming to the details of this particular point, which is bilateral symmetry and coelomate. So you might have studied the different types of symmetry in animals. So here the arthropods, so here in this also you can see the example as another arthropod which is shown here. So this particular arthropodine group, they are having bilateral symmetry. So symmetry you define in the sense that when you divide the body, okay, through a particular plane. In some animals, if you divide the body in any plane, that is what is called as radial symmetry. You can see the different planes. So if you divide the animal in different planes, you get two equal halves. That is, whatever plane you use to cut the animal, okay, you will have the two pieces in whatever plane you use. You will have the same the sides or the two sides after you cut the animal into two halves, both the sides will be the same. So such a type of symmetry is called as radial symmetry. And there are some animals like sponges, as you see here. They are asymmetrical. They cannot be divided into, because they do not have a particular body plan. Their body cannot be divided or divided using a particular plane. But when you come to organisms like arthropods, they are having bilateral symmetry in the sense that their body can be divided into two equal halves only through one plane, that is from anterior posterior axis. The same is the case with we humans. We are also having a somewhat bilateral symmetry. I say somewhat in the sense because if you are dividing if you are taking the plane from your head to the toes, and you are if you are making it into two halves, the thing is that most of our structures, even the internal organs, they will be having equal halves. But there are some organs, example our heart, which is more inclined towards the left. So there are some exceptions in our case. Even though with that we say that our body plan is also having a bilateral symmetry. So any organism whose body can be divided into two equal halves only through one plane, and mostly it is the anterior or posterior axis, such animals are said to be bilaterally symmetrical, as you see here. So we said one of the feature which was bilateral symmetry for amphibians, for arthropods. The next feature was they are coelomates. So coming to a coelomate, you might have studied what is a coelom. So a coelom is nothing but it is a cavity. Okay, it is a cavity between your body wall and the internal organs or the viscera. We humans do have in a cavity. So whenever you say it as a cavity, our perception is that it will be a very large space, because we visualize a cavity to be a very larger space. But in actual case, when you come to the body of an organism, this cavity means it is a very small space, a very very mere space. As you might know, if you take our body wall and the internal structures, even the bones, etc., there is a very minute space between that, because every organs in every animal, if you see the internal structure of the viscera, it is compactly packed. Okay, to fit the size of every organism, it is compactly packed. And and just outside that you have the body wall. So it is a very very small space between the body wall and the viscera or the internal organs. So as you see here, when you define the coelom, so this is if you see this, so this is the cavity. So this is the internal organ. Here it is the abdomen or the gut or the uh, alimentary canal. It is a cross section of that, and you can see that this is the small cavity, and uh, this is the body wall, the muscle, and this is lined by a layer of this orange or the pink color. This represents what is called as a mesodermal layer, and the internal organ or the viscera is also surrounded by the same mesodermal layer, okay, as you see here. And the space or the very small gap between these two mesodermal layers is called as the body cavity or the coelom. So in actual, it is a very very small space, a very, you can call it as a very negligible space. So when you come to in pseudocoelom, you can see that there is no space in them. The mesodermal tissue just fills the space between the body cavity and the viscera or the internal organ. So you have the digestive tract here. Between the digestive tract and the body wall, you can see a tissue, just a tissue is filled without any cavity, and that is why there is no cavity in them. This is called as pseudocoelomate. Acoelomate, there is no cavity. Coming to the second one, pseudocoelomate. So they are having a cavity. That's what you mean by coelom, but it is a false coelom. When you observe the cross section of the animal, you can see the space, but that space is not lined by the mesoderm. So for a true coelom, both sides of the cavity should be lined by mesodermal cells or the mesodermal layer. So if it is not lined by mesodermal layer on both sides, that means you can see that in this case only the layer of mesoderm is present in the surrounding the viscera, surrounding the body wall, but the same is absent. So there is a cavity, but it is not lined by mesoderm. In some instances, you will also have a pseudocoelom, in the sense that if this is the body wall and if this is the alimentary canal, so there are in some other cases you also have, this is also called as a pseudocoelom, where these are the mesodermal cells. This is not continuous, okay. So here also you will see this, the mesodermal cells which is not continuous. This is also referred to as a pseudocoelom, okay. This is also a cavity, okay. This is also a cavity, but this cavity is different from what you call it as a true coelom, in the sense that when you draw a true coelom, what happens is that the entire lining of the body cavity, sorry, it has gone out. and also the lining of the alimentary canal. And as a result, you can see that actually this should come inside. So here, okay. So here the body wall as well as the so here so this will be intimately attached. Okay. So here this particular space, if you take, this is having the lining, both the linings are mesoderm. The lining of the cavity on both sides is mesoderm. Only if it is continuous, you can call it as a true coelom. A pseudocoelom might be like this condition where you have coelomic pouches on the body on the body wall, lining the body wall as well as lining the internal organs. You will have pouches which is not continuous. That is also a pseudocoelom. The other case which is shown here, this is also a pseudocoelom where you have the coelomic pouch only in one area, the other area is absent. Only if you have a continuous coelomic layer on both the sides of the cavity or both the walls of the cavity, that is called as a true coelom. So our arthropods are animals which are having a true coelom where the body wall and the alimentary canal is surrounded by the alimentary canal or the viscera is lined by a true cavity which is both lined by mesodermal layer. And when you come to humans, this particular layer or higher animals, this particular layer of layers of mesoderm is called as peritoneum. It is like a membrane, a very transparent membrane. So this blue color is what is called as a cavity. The blue shade is what is called as a cavity which is surrounding the internal organs. You can see that this pink lining, that is a membrane, a very transparent membrane. You can see this transparent membrane which is surrounding the internal organs as well as surrounding the body wall, and this particular thing is this particular cavity is what is called as the coelom. Okay, so this coelom, it is lining, you can see there are different, because when you come to higher organisms, you can see the different organs, and every organ is lined by this particular mesodermal layer. So this is just a membrane, a very transparent membrane, and this membrane is called as a peritoneum. This peritoneum is lining the body wall. This will be continuous, as you can see here. This is continuous, and the same membrane, it is covering the same membrane folds, and it is covering the internal organ. As a result, there will be a very small cavity, between the internal organs and the body wall, and that is what is called as the coelom. So this is a very narrow space. If you can closely observe, the two membranes will be closely opposed, and there will be a fluid which is being filled inside the membrane. And the main function of this particular cavity which is fluid filled is to prevent it. It acts as a shock absorbent for the internal organs. So every internal organ, there are some exceptions when you come to humans, like our kidneys, etc. It is lying outside the peritoneum. So there are some exceptions, but mainly this is what is referred to as the coelom. Okay, so that was the first point, which is bilateral symmetry and coelomate. They are bilaterally symmetrical and coelomate animals. So the next we will discuss in the next session. Thanks for hearing.